Hello, Gary Simon here of DesignCourse.com. Today we're going to continue on by doing a tad bit of PHP and then writing out the HTML for the main GUI, basically when a person's logged into barterfool.com. Alright, so basically if you need access to the project files from everything that's been done up to this point, you could check out yesterday's video, and then if you need today's project files after the project's done, you can download it from this video at DesignCourse.com. Alright, so if you haven't yet, check out DesignCourse.com and subscribe here on YouTube. Let's get started. Okay, so this is where we left off yesterday, finishing the step 2 PHP. So real quickly before we get on with that main GUI, what I want to do is get our first bit of PHP actually going. I want to include the header. So this portion, this HTML is our header, and so right now it's on both of these pages, but if you ever want to make a change, you'd have to make a change to multiple. So a great way of dealing with that problem is just by taking, let's see, do I want to include the header portion? Yeah. All of this HTML, copying it, delete it, and go ahead and open up the PHP tags, and that's how you do it if you've never done it. And then include, and that would be, we'll just call it nav.php, and then end that line with a semicolon, which is something you'll see often, and then close the PHP tag. So save that, go to File, New, Control V to paste that HTML in, save it, and we'll call it nav.php. All right, and then we'll come back over here, copy this line real quick, and then come to index.html. We're going to rename that to PHP. And if you're not using an editor that allows you to do that, you'll just have to do it with your file browser. And then go ahead and paste that in. Oops, yeah, there. All right, so now everything's a PHP file, and that includes both of our header, or nav.php. Okay, so switching back over here, this is the page that we created for the main interface once a person's actually logged in. And so yeah, let's get started with this real quickly. Let's switch over here. I'll just take our step 2, save it as, I'll just call it main.php. All right, so one of the things, we'll work from top to bottom. So the first thing is this has to align to the left, and then we have to add these 3 links. So it's going to require a little bit of PHP to do both of those, and you'll see why. So let me get out my FTP, which I use one that's called Flash FXP. There's a bunch of different FTP applications that you can use. If you've never used one before, you have no idea what it is. Basically, it allows you to transfer files onto your website. So right now, all these files, this is showing index.php basically, or HTML for now. So this is the old files. So what I'm going to do is just delete those. And you know, if you're interested in transferring your files to a website, if you actually registered a domain, you know, from the beginning of this tutorial, you can go to your host and log into your host panel, and they'll tell you what your FTP information is, like your FTP address, password, etc. So I'm not going to go into details about how to specifically use it, but it's very simple. It's kind of like a drag and drop system. And so very quick, and just to make sure our header include worked, it does, so that's good. All right, so basically, let's see here. Let me go back here. What we want to do for this main.php is we need to create a variable at the top, at the very top, just before that first line. So I'm going to open up with the PHP tag, and I'm going to put in basically a variable. The way you create a variable, you just put the numbers, or the $, and whatever name you want to come up, something that's relevant, obviously, for that variable name, equals just 1. That's it. So we're just going to set a variable we can make this anything. It doesn't have to be one. Basically, it's just creating a variable. And then in nav.php, what we want to do is come over here. So right now, our alignment of it being right aligned in that the column 7, that's set by CSS basically. So what we want to do is right here inside the image source, put PHP, if is set align logo, that's our variable name. So is set basically means if the variable exists. So if that variable exists, then now what I just did was I opened up a bracket here and then I closed the PHP. So basically, if align logo exists, anything that comes after this is going to be executed essentially. So we're going to have a class. So class equals, I'm just going to put AL for align logo, and then open PHP back up, close that bracket, and there we go, close PHP. So this is what yours should look like basically. All right, so save that. And up here we have align logo equals 1. And so we want to get out our CSS for style.css. And we want to add a style here right at the top. AL, we're going to reference that class. Float left. I'm going to put important as well. Make sure that actually works. All right, so now what we can do is go back to our FTP. Which files did we edit? I think it was nav and main, as well as the CSS. All right, and then if I refresh this, it'll work. Because we're on index.php, that variable is not set, so everything stays the same. But if we go to main.php, it now aligns left. Perfect. All right, so now we know what we need to do is also get this over here, having it show, instead of log in here, it's going to show those 3 links. So, because we're going to be assuming that person's logged in on that page. So let's go over here. And, all right, so basically, we're not going to create the whole login system yet, but it's going to use the login system in order to work. So we're going to hack it a little bit, just to make it think that the variable exists that we're going to use. So basically, actually no, we want to go inside here. All right, so inside here, I'm going to put PHP, close it as well, and then inside of it, I'm going to put if is set. So, we used is set before just without that exclamation point, but this basically means if it's not set. So very simple. And we're going to use sessions, PHP sessions, for our login system. So you'll understand how that works. Basically, are variables that kind of save throughout a person's between visiting different pages. So I'm going to save. I'm going to say client ID here. So if the client ID is set, that means they're logged in. If that's the case, or if it's not set in this case, it's going to show this login here link. So open that back up, and then we'll put else, which basically means otherwise, if it is set, do everything that comes between these brackets. And so that's going to be 3 links. 1, 2, 3. And let me refer back. Yeah. Okay, so the first one was edit my barter. Second one was my account and log out. I'm not going to worry about the links right now. I'll leave them the same. And then because this is styled differently, it's green and these other ones aren't, we'll give that a class. And we'll give it a, I don't know, important link. There we go. Now, by default, this isn't going to work because we don't have the actual login system built. So what I'm going to do is simply declare this variable right here. And now we'll be able to see these 3 links because we set that up there. All right, so let me go ahead and make those changes. I don't know if we updated main.php or not, but there we go. See? All right, so now what we want to do is make sure that these float left of each other. So we'll have to go back to the style.css. And that's going to be header ULLI. So I'm just copying that, pasting it. And what we want to put here is display inline, float left. And then we want some margin because there's not going to be any space between those links right now. So I'm going to put 12 pixels from the top because I did want to push it down a little bit. And then 15 pixels from the right of each other. So 0, 0. And let me come up here. And there we go. All right. And we can also go ahead real quick and edit that portion to make sure that that is the correct green and it's not decorated with any lines. So let me come over here. Important link A for the A tag, and then it's just going to be text decoration none. That gets rid of the underline, and then color. We'll come back here to Photoshop, and there it is. All right, so go back and upload this. And there we go. All right, so now if we drag this in, all right, that's fine for now. All right, so now we can actually get started on the HTML for this page. All right, so let's come over here. What I'm going to do is basically delete all of the HTML. So we have container 12, nav, and then that. So save that. All right, so we have quite a bit of work to do. So for the first thing I have to focus on is this submenu right here. All right, so let's do that. Basically, we'll call this div class equals submenu. I'm not going to open it up with a container 12 yet because we want it to extend. Oh yeah, I messed that up. Because we want this bar to extend all the way, it has to be outside of that container 12. Otherwise, it'll just end right here. So yeah, when I did this initially before recording the video, I didn't think about that. So it's no problem. All you have to do is just outside of that container 12, div class equals sub-menu. Okay, and that's the one that will be, making it that dark color. And then inside of it, we need div class equals container 12. All right. And then inside of that, we'll put the actual form, because it is a form that they submit in this submenu. So form action equals nothing, and then method equals post. Oops, close that form. All right, and what we want to do is now, I didn't use the grid to align these, but I'm just going to make them 2 columns long each. That seems like it would be pretty accurate. Yeah, roughly. Yeah, so no problem. So we need a column 2, column 2, column 2, and then column 6, and that's where this thing will reside basically. All right, so let's go and do that. Div class equals column 2. And inside of that, we will put the first input. Input type equals text. Class equals small FLD. The other ones, as you remember, were large FLD. Name equals city. Value equals nothing for now, though we'll probably populate that with PHP later on. Placeholder equals city. All right. The next one is a state, so we have to switch back over to step 2. I'll just copy that real quickly. All right. All right, so now Just change that class to small field. Let's copy this again. And this goes right here. And then this will be not a text field. This is our checkbox. And put input type equals checkbox. Name equals ignore location. Value equals 1. So if it's checked, if it's checked, then the value will equal 1. So we'll know that with PHP if the person checks it or not. All right, so also it is gray text, so I'm going to put span here, class equals gray-txt, ignore location. And then close the span tag. All right, and that's all. All right, so then what we need is another div class equals container12, because this one ends right here. And then inside of here is where the main content will go, starting with right here. All right, so this is going to be pretty simple. All we have to do is to work for one of these basically, and then just replicate them 5 times and change these things around. All right, so let's go here and all right, so I'm going to use h1 ID equals full, as in the 100% matches. Then we'll be able to get that icon in there. Class equals, I'm just going to put main title. And then strong, 100% matches. Close that, and then span, because it's gray text, light gray text, I believe. And I'm just going to copy off screen this portion right here. People who need what you have and have what you need. Someone told me that the period belongs outside of it, so I'll trust them and say okay. All right, and then close that h1 tag as well. All right, so save this and continue on. Now we actually have our 3 containers to deal with. So they're all floating left, so we're going to put div class equals row. And then inside of that, we're going to put div class equals column 4, because there's 3 of them. And then inside of that, we're going to have div class equals barter dash container. And what that'll allow us to do is give it a outline basically. And you could have done that just by adding another class to this column tag right here, like just adding barter container right there. But I found that because of this little text that falls outside of it, that's why we have to create a separate div element for the barter container, you know, whatever. You'll see how it works. All right, so, and then inside of here, this is where we put the actual, you know, the actual content, the text, there once, you know, and all that stuff. So what we'll do is put a p tag, class equals once offers, and there once, I'm going to hit enter and then put span, exercise machine. And of course, this is all going to be updated dynamically when we get to that stage. This is just placeholder stuff. Close that p tag. And I'm structuring it like this instead of all in one line just because it makes it easier to see what's going on. Copy this. Their offers. And I'm going to copy that off screen real quick. All right. And tickle feet. I'm so messed up. And then we have our gray area that contains, we have this area right here, and then we have that actual button. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to put div class equals contact container. And then inside, I'm going to use an HTML5 element called button. Type equals button. And contact this person. Close that button tag. All right. So then outside of this barter container, and this is the portion that's going to be that with that gray outline, is where we have this stuff right here. Oops. So I'm just copying that. And then we'll put p class equals barter data, I guess. Oh man. All right. And then paste that in there and end that p tag. And that is it. So now what we want to do is take this, all of column 4, paste it in twice, just like that. And then what we want to do is take everything from the H1 and let me make sure I do this right. Yeah. So with exception to the last container tag, copy that, paste it in. This is going to be half. Change this to 50. And we can get that, we can edit that text up there. All right. And there we go. Let's see. Let's check out what this looks like so far. I mean, there's no CSS applied to that, so, but the general structure should be there. Yeah, and it is. Obviously, there's a lot of work in terms of the CSS, but the basic layout is there. Cool. All right. So it's already been about 21 minutes so far, so I'm just going to end it there. And tomorrow we'll get into the CSS possibly. I'm planning on doing a video. It's going to have nothing to do with this project one of these days based on my commenting system. So I'm not sure if that's going to be tomorrow or not. So we'll see. All right. So yeah, if you also, I'm thinking about doing a custom, what do you call, forum on my site as well, so that people can actually, if you have questions or whatever, you can go there instead of messing around on YouTube. All right. Anyhow, yeah. So if you haven't yet, check out designcourse.com and subscribe here on YouTube. I'll see you tomorrow.